Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios. We are going to be looking at the New Mutants number 15 from 1984. Now, we're going to be doing one at a time, of course, because Chris Claremont is rather wordy, so I couldn't be able to get all three issues in one video. So we're going to do doing 3 days, though, consecutively. So we'll be doing 15, 16, and 17 before we pick up back with the X-Men. So what's going on is the X-Men, if you saw yesterday's video, have gone to Battle World. So while the X-Men are in the Secret Wars, from the 1980s version of the Secret Wars, that takes place of about a week. So these next three issues of New Mutants follow that story with Kitty Pryde and the Hellfire Club. So that's what we're going to be following here. So while the X-Men are away, this is what we got here. So, all right. And we've got this cover. This appears to be, is this Ileana? It has to be. So I wonder if this is where Ileana joins the New Mutants once and for all. So because these looks like demonic things coming out of her. So yep, I will just assume it's her. All right. So Scaredy Cat is the title. Chris Claremont writes. Sal Buscema and Tom Mandrake are still the art team. Thomas Zakowski, Glynis Wein, and Louise Jones, who will be Louise Simonson in the future. This would be Magnum PI, so this would be Tom Selleck, and we got Garfield here and somebody. So here we have Ileana meditating, and so she is, of course, Colossus's sister. I have playlists. You can hear all about it. Give you the short version. She was a child, and she got aged and spent some time in the realm of limbo. So feel free to look at the playlist. So I have a New Mutants playlist, I have an X-Men playlist, and I have an X-Universe playlist that covers everything. So it's got X-Men, New Mutants, the Wolverine Limited Series, the Marvel Fanfares, everything. So check that out if you would like. So she's practicing her spells here, and so she's doing not really tricks, but just kind of learning how to use her astral form here. So, and she says here, Kitty promised she'd telephone as soon as she and her friend Doug Ramsey arrived from the Massachusetts Academy. But we haven't heard a word from her, and now the X-Men have disappeared as well. That's, of course, the Secret Wars. And so it does seem that she is heading toward the Massachusetts Academy to check on Kitty. And so Ileana continues here. According to Kitty, the school is in the outskirts of town. She hated the place. If not for Doug asking her to go with him, she wouldn't have come anywhere near it. She had good reason. And so Ileana continues thinking here. It looks so peaceful and beautiful. A storybook campus. Its facade is as deceptive as my own, she says. The woman who runs this school, Emma Frost, is the White Queen of the Hellfire Club, a secret society whose goal it is to rule the world. So strange, she and her comrades are fabulously wealthy. One would think they'd be content with that, but power is an addictive drug. I know from experience, she continues. The more you have, the more you want. This is the secret complex beneath the school that Kitty and Ororo told me about. And so she sees Ileana goes through and says, and there's Kitty. And Kitty out loud says, you won't get away with this. And Ileana says, I was right to be concerned. She's in a mess. That's the White Queen. And so the White Queen. I think it's in French. Fate accompli, dear heart. It's already done. You are trapped here without the power to phase. And Ileana continues, poor Kitty, she was kidnapped by the Morlocks, and now this. I only hope I can be of some use. And I have covered those two stories because I am going in reading order. So, rage all you wish, Catherine. Resist with all your might. I enjoy a good match with a worthy foe, but when it's over, when I've finished with you, and so you won't ever want to leave me. That won't that be nice? And she says, the X-Men. And Emma Frost continues, if your teammates were coming to your rescue, wouldn't they have done so by now? And Kitty looks away in disgust. Doug Ramsey will call the police. And she says, why would he? And suddenly she sees a hologram of Doug. To him, you're not missing. I'll place you in rapport with him so you can see through his eyes. And so Frost is creating a psychic illusion of Doug, of Kitty to Doug, so you can see the two have feelings for each other, and they're acting on it. Only he's not, and so the poor guy is kissing an illusion here. So just goes to show you the evilness of the White Queen, who will one day be a part of the X-Men. And so I'm telling you, that Krakoa thing was a mess with the two of them. Although I know that the relationship with the X-Men came after Phoenix had died and she hooked up with Cyclops. But anyway, so the White Queen is like, why are you denying your feelings? And she's like, he's just a friend, nothing more. And the White Queen says, Catherine, I thought you knew better than to try to deceive a mind reader. So, and Kitty says, why are you doing this? She says, Douglas is a commodity that she wants to control. And so Doug is a mutant. He can control languages and computer. It doesn't matter. He's able to connect them all. I communicate with all of them. And she goes, and to think I felt sorry for when I heard what Mastermind had done. And I have covered that. And White Queen says, would you like a taste of that experience, brat? He confronted me with illusions so terrible, horror so primal and personal, that my mind retreated into a catatonic state, a living death from which he believed I'd never wake. His assumption was that I lacked both the strength and the courage. I like the shadows here. To drag myself out of the abyss. He was wrong. Mastermind's fatal flaw was that his tendency to underestimate his opposition. Don't make the same mistake. Your worth is finite, Catherine. I suggest you not push your luck. And Kitty's like, yeah, I'm scared. And she says, I know, but it's a nice act. Now that I've taken a moment to regain my temper, shall I make you an offer you can't refuse, says the White Queen. And Kitty says, only if you want a real rude suggestion about what you can do with it. And the White Queen says, what delightful, inventive thoughts, Catherine. You've a streak of pure nastiness in you that rivals my own. You'd enjoy belonging to the Hellfire Club. And Kitty says, not a chance. So, sorry, I had to mute for a moment. I had to cough, so. So Kitty says, I've got to keep myself under control. The more upset I get, the harder it becomes to maintain the psychic defenses the professor taught me. And psychically, Emma says, they won't do you any good even then. And she's like, shut up, get out of my mind, leave me alone. And Emma Frost is like, make me. Which, if I could get my hands on you. And White Queen says, but you can't. You are completely at my mercy, as are your parents. And Kitty is like, what do you mean? I can do a great deal, Catherine, to them or for them. I can grant them wealth, power, anything their greedy hearts desire, or I can crush them as utterly as Mastermind tried to do to me. Would you see your parents penniless, starving, homeless, in rags, totally without hope? Are you that cruel? And she's like, you can't. And she's like, try me. And Kitty's like, that isn't fair. And then she gasps. And she notices Ileana here. And now the White Queen senses her too. And so the White Queen uses her power and seemingly destroys her. But of course, we know that's not the case here. So, and so the New Mutants hear that scream. And I'm not quite sure if this is supposed to be a Y, an E, and A. It's almost like years, like it's spelling years, but it makes no sense. What this is supposed to be, and then I wasn't sure if this is like a G, maybe, um, but year because this looks like an R. So I don't know what they were trying to spell out here. So if someone can figure out what they're trying to spell out here, put it in the comments. Cause I have no idea. I'm thinking years, but that makes no sense. So and then I went back here, but there's no question or anything that was done. So yeah. So anyway, we have Danny, Rain, Sam, Bobby, and Amara. So Mirage, Wolfsbane, Cannonball, Sunspot, and Magma. And so I love the magenta being used here. So they hear the scream and they open the door to Ileana's room, but they're met with a demon there as Sam kicks in the door. And so Wolfsbane kind of gets him off, and Ileana is casting demons because of what was done to her. So they're going to try and help Ileana kind of get her calm. So the New Mutants, these four are gonna go outside after the demons, leaving Danny to handle Ileana here. So here you can see Wolfsbane trying to get this one, and then he shows up here, the big one, and uh, Sunspot here is like, man, they can get big and small, and he falls down and then runs into Wolfsbane and Sam here going after them, but again they disappear. He's invulnerable while he is in that cannon form, so he cannot be hurt. So and so now here we go. She notices that the demons are protecting Ileana, not letting her get near her, and she's trying to, but the demons are standing guard, essentially protecting her. So she uses a her powers to get what the person fears the most and creates an illusion, of course, which is Ileana in her demonic form. Means this demon you can't tell, but on this one you can tell by the eyes that he's afraid. So, and this is what her dark child persona would be. And so, Danny kind of collapses, and Ileana gets her. So, um, Ileana puts her in the bed, and then here come the rest of the mutants. And Cannonball says, "Hey, we got some questions for you, Ileana." So, all right. And so she says she's a mutant and a sorceress as well. And Bobby asks what went wrong, and she basically says that Kitty's being held prisoner of the Hellfire Club by the White Queen, um, and is no longer in a coma. And the eyes, she looks kind of bored. So I don't know. Uh, I don't think this Sal Buscema's a master, but he really, I don't know, maybe to create, but she looks like she's got bored eyes. So so basically she's giving them a recap, which is weird because normally you do recap for the readers. So I would imagine that the scene should have taken place after he did the recap, but I don't know. And so they call the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. Of course, they're all out in Secret Wars. So there's nobody left except them to try and rescue Kitty. Of course, they're like, "Hey, we're kids," and Eliana doesn't care, and she says, "If you guys aren't gonna help, I'll do it myself." So, of course, there's a little bit of tension between the New Mutants and Kitty, because she's their age, but she's in the X Men, and so Kitty always calls them the X babies and all that kind of stuff. So, but Amara says, regardless of personal feelings, we really all should go. And Sam asks, "How the heck are we supposed to get out there? You know, I can't carry everybody, and I don't even know if my power could make it all the way over there." She, of course, can't control her stepping disc. She hasn't been trained, so that's out of the question. But they look relieved. They're obviously scared of her, and so none of them can drive. None of them have can fly the X plane, the Blackbird. Bobby can, but they said kids driving a Rolls Royce would probably be suspicious. Stevie is away on vacation. So they collect all the money and they're going to take a bus. So we're just going to skip a little bit ahead here. They're looking at the observation deck here. So they're on the bus here, and Rain's looking at uh, Ileana because Rain, of course, is very religious, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, a demon!" And Ileana knows she's being looked at, and Danny's looking at a printout of the mansion's library to try to get as much information about Emma Frost and the Hellfire Club. They made mention of the church where Cloak and Dagger use as their base of operations. There was a story with the New Mutants and Marvel Team Up Annual 6, which I did not cover. So, um, feel free to check that out on your own on the website that I provided down there. So, Danny thinks they need to make a plan, otherwise, they're going to get destroyed by the Hellfire Club. So, I'm kind of just gonna narrate a couple of the next pages just because there's so much Chris Claremont isms in there. He wants a full. I mean, the dude puts in so much words here. So, all right. So Sam asks her why she's looking at her, and she goes, "Cause she's a witch," and she's like, "Big deal, you're a werewolf." But of course, as we mentioned, Rain was brought up very religious, so she's like, she's the spawn of the devil, and of course, Sam tries to tell her that no, she's not, and so they're gonna have basically a conversation about that, about second chances and that kind of stuff. So you can see, they talk a little bit about each other. Feel free to check out that website that I put in the link in the bottom if you want to know more as to what they're talking. It's just there's a lot of talking, so I'm just gonna kind of move this along here. So that evening they get to the Massachusetts Academy, and you can see here as Magma has made their way through and says we're inside and none of the villains are there. So here come the New Mutants. And Sam goes, pretty impressive. Not just this complex, but how we reached it. And Magma says, lava burns through the earth, Sam. So do I. And Rain shifts to the wolf form here. And Chris Claremont makes mention of this rapport they share with each other that Professor X established. And Rain is smelling for um, Kitty here. So, um, and Oh, Danny says, problems, Ileana? There are too many scents. Rain's having trouble sorting them out. And Ileana says, that's all right, Danny. I scouted the entire complex when I was here in my astral forms. Kitty was being held in this lab next door. And there she is. And Kitty says, about time, Rasputin. What the heck kept you? And she says, the bus broke down. You came to my rescue by bus, she says. Well, can I tell you, Pride, we're a class act. I see you brought the baby brigade. Nice outfit. And she says, glad you like it, considering it used to be yours. Does that chair inhibit your phasing power? Is there a switch? And then they realize it was a hologram. They have been tricked. And so they see all these lights here, very bright here. Welcome, dear children, to my parlor, says the White Queen. I know most of you by reputation only, and some not all, but I'm certain we're going to become great friends, as Kitty Pryde and I have already done. From this moment, your bodies belong to the Hellfire Club, and very soon now, your minds and souls will follow. And Eliana says here, if you've harmed Kitty, woman, I'll bring this entire mountain down around your ears. I'll use my magic to move your precious academy from Earth to the heart of hell itself. So, meet the Hellions in Away Game, next issue. So, as I mentioned, we're going to do 3 issues in a row. So, this is the first one. So, 2 more to go. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.